Today, I want to share with you the number one mistake I see bosses make when they give performance reviews, so you can avoid many of the pitfalls bosses fall into when giving evaluations. Hi, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Allie, and today we've got another segment of Q&A where I answer one of your questions in order to help you excel at work and reach your highest potential. If you have a question for me, then make sure to leave it in the comments down below and maybe it'll be featured on the next segment of Q&A. Otherwise, sit back, relax, and grab a drink and we'll get started. AR writes, "Hey Allie, recently I was evaluated by a manager and after that I asked for some more constructive feedback. However, that feedback was mostly policy driven. I don't know how to respond to this feedback, especially since he said that my skills were pretty good. How should I take this feedback that was given to me? Sorry for the long explanation." Hey AR, and thank you for submitting this question. Before I reveal the number one mistake bosses make during performance review, I want to give you some context about this particular situation since AR DM'd me personally about this situation. So, AR was actually looking forward to this evaluation. She's one of the top performers in her office and wanted to receive some constructive feedback on how to be more effective at her job. Mind you, this was completely voluntary. It wasn't required. She didn't have to do this. Anyways, she scheduled a day to be observed by her boss and things went as she expected. It went well. The problem is that when she received the evaluation, it was neutral. Sure, he said her skills were good, but he didn't really expand on what exactly she did that was good and how she could improve. It was bland and, quite frankly, useless. I'm not going to show this evaluation to maintain her confidentiality, but when I looked at this, I could understand her frustration. The manager didn't give examples on what she did right and instead focused on solely minor organizational policies and protocols she didn't follow. So much so, in fact, that the majority of the evaluation read more like a manual than a performance review. Basically, a lot of policy states this or company wants that. It was no different than having a hall monitor for a boss. And this is a huge problem. Performance reviews are meant to facilitate open discussion about performance and aid professional development, not whip out the rule book and write a one-sided citation. And to make matters worse, this is not the first time I've seen this happen. I found that bosses prefer to use policies and procedures as a crutch to avoid personal responsibility for their evaluations. Look, I teach at a university, so I get it. Evaluations are time-consuming and downright uncomfortable. You have to critique someone based off a few snapshots of what they do on the job, and if they don't like it, then there's resentment and animosity you have to deal with afterwards. And chances are you probably never received proper training on how to give constructive feedback, especially in jobs you're not specialized in. But you have to look at it from this perspective. When you focus solely on policies and procedures, in other words, when you make it clear it's what executives want and not what you think personally, you're communicating to your employees several negative things. One, that you're passive. You'd rather pass the blame to someone who doesn't work directly with your employees in order to avoid confrontation. Two, you care more about kissing up to corporate or covering your own ass than helping your employees develop further. And three, and this is the big one, you're not qualified to evaluate them. And guess what? You don't deserve to be viewed this way. You worked hard to get where you're at and should be recognized for what you do. But the reality is that this is how employees see you when you rely heavily on policies and procedures to get through performance reviews. They don't respect you or your authority and, quite frankly, just don't trust you. And it's because of these consequences from using policies and procedures that I consider this to be the number one mistake bosses make during a performance review. Before I get some major backlash here, let me make it clear. There's nothing wrong with telling an employee that they're not following procedure in small doses. It is a problem, however, when it's the only point made in an entire evaluation. And let me explain why. When you're a boss, you're someone who's admired and respected in the workplace. You're someone that employees can look to for guidance on how to excel in their job and grow within the company. And the most opportune time for them to get this advice is through performance evaluations. Performance evaluations help employees understand where they stand within the company and if they're on the right track for reaching their professional and personal goals. Policies and procedures, however, are meant to be followed by everyone at all times. In other words, it's a baseline employees need to maintain in order to keep their jobs, not a way to grow within the company. And as you can imagine, over time, this can be frustrating and demoralizing to employees. They have no clue if they're improving or if they even have a future with the company, and as a result are more likely to leave. This is a boss's worst nightmare. Now, fortunately, there is something you can do about this. Something so simple, you won't believe that this was a problem in the begin with. Just frame your feedback from a performance standpoint and how it can benefit your employees. That's it. Rather than saying that they need to change because this is what the company wants, tell them that they want to change because it'll make them better at their job and give them a better chance at landing that promotion or bonus they want, because quite frankly, that's what corporate likes to see. This is a great way to inspire your employees to take corrective action and develop trust with your employees. Now, there are some cases where this is not ideal. Anything that is related to safety or has legal implications obviously needs to be treated more seriously and is non-negotiable if they wish to continue with the company. So use your best judgment, but for the most part, I found that reframing your feedback from an opportunistic standpoint is much more effective and productive than outlining your company manual. And even better, you'll reap several benefits from doing this. Your employees will respect you more for helping them develop further, you'll have less resistance when you give feedback in the future, and you'll have better relationships with your employees overall. Who doesn't want that? So, the next time you give an evaluation and feel the urge or need to bring in the company's policies or procedures, remember to reframe your evaluation from their perspective and how they can benefit from making these changes. And there you have it, the #1 mistake bosses make when giving performance reviews and how to fix it. Reframe your feedback from a standpoint that benefits your employees, and you'll see your employees respecting your evaluations more and listening to what you have to say. If you find that you struggle with performance reviews, then I highly recommend you watch this Triple T video where I share different ways you can effectively give constructive feedback. It's a great way to improve the effectiveness of your feedback and encourage change in your employees. If you enjoyed watching this video, then make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. It helps me get my videos out there and lets you know when I release new content. Otherwise, thank you for joining me today. Until next time, take it easy, everyone. Bye.